Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Anna. I'm a clinical psychology doctoral candidate and I make videos about real life applications to psychology. Today we're talking about a specific study looking at when people stay friends with their ex, what their reasons are and what the outcomes are. But also we're going to be taking it a step further and applying it to your own life. So first of all, we're going to be answering the question, should you stay friends with your ex? And second, what if your current partner is friends with their ex? Is that a cause for concern? And of course, some people might not really want to know the signs. That might be a boundary for them that they automatically don't want a partner to be friends with their ex, and that's perfectly valid. I'm not sure I would necessarily be thrilled with it either. We're just looking at the research today. So hit like and subscribe if you haven't already, and let's just get into it. So the article, which is by the way in the description box, talks first about the phases of a relationship. So this includes initiation, when you first start to get to know the person and start to initiate a committed relationship with them. Development, the strengthening of the trust of the relationship, getting to know each other better. Maintenance, which is what the majority of relationships are. You're trying to maintain passion, the respect, the spice. And then finally, dissolution, which a lot of relationships end with, where you go your own ways and you break up. But it should be mentioned that it's not always linear. Not all relationships go in this particular order. Some people repeat a stage, some do them in different order, some never reach certain stages. So an example of that is sometimes people don't stay in the dissolution stage. After they break up, maybe they make up again, or maybe they start a friendship. Does the pain of whatever led to the breakup outweigh the motivation or benefits of a friendship? That's a really big question that we are all kind of unconsciously asking ourselves when we go through a breakup. Am I hurt enough by this to say I never want to see this person again? Do the benefits of maybe the non-romantic parts of our relationship outweigh why we broke up? So that's one reason why people, tend to stay friends after a relationship, if that is the case, that the pros outweigh the cons. Another reason is a lot of times people say, let's stay friends as an attempt at being nice and not hurting the other person's feelings, and the other person actually believes it, and then maybe a relationship ensues out of obligation. So the study had two parts. I'm kind of going to be combining them into one description, but let's just go into the findings. 59% of participants stayed friends with their ex, which I thought was pretty surprising. It seems like most people, when they break up, tend to go their own ways, but I guess I'm thinking more long-term rather than short-term. In the first study, it was 65% of women and 50% of men. And in the second study that they did, there was no real difference based on gender. The average length of the relationship for people who stayed friends with their ex was about 2 years. Kind of makes sense. There's no need to stay friends with someone who you've dated only for a few months, don't really have a whole lot in common with. And it's harder to stay friends with someone who you have significant history and baggage with. The friendships that transpired were moderately satisfying. So they weren't the same as other friendships, definitely not as strong as people's best friends, but they were not overall terrible either on average. LGBTQ individuals were actually more preoccupied with keeping the friendship post-breakup, which I thought was interesting. I wonder if maybe it has to do with a support system being more important to these individuals, having a greater ability to separate the friendship from the romantic relationship. In the first study, attachment avoidance positively predicted having a relationship, a friendship with your ex. Whereas in the second study, a lower attachment anxiety predicted this. So if you don't know about attachment styles, I have a video about it, so check it out. I'm going to put a card up here. But basically, attachment styles are the way we connect with people. These develop when we're infants and they kind of shape how we interact with people throughout our adult life. So there's secure attachment, where you're kind of okay with people coming and going. You're not really clinging, you're not really anxious, you're not really pushing people away. And then there are the insecure types of attachment. So that includes insecure avoidant, when you push people away, and insecure anxious, when you want to pull people closer. So for avoidant people, staying friends might be a good way to lower intimacy and closeness without potentially losing what you can get out of the relationship. On the other hand, people with high insecure anxiety might actually want more than a friendship with their ex. So a relationship with their ex might actually represent a loss or a downgrade for them. Either way, what's clear is that attachment insecurity is associated with wanting to stay friends with your ex. So someone who tends to be more secure in their attachment might not feel inclined to be friends with their ex. It kind of makes sense. Someone who is secure in their attachment, who neither pushes people away nor tries to cling to them, is not going to have a huge incentive to stay friends with an ex. We also found that the more extroverted, so the more outgoing and bubbly, and you guys know what extroverted means, right? The more extroverted a person was, the less likely they were to have a relationship, a friendship with their ex. It may seem counterintuitive, but I think the reason for this is that extroverted people tend to already have a pretty big social circle, lots of friends. They may make it easy to make new friends, so they may not need to be friends with their ex as much. And agreeableness, so how likable you are, how friendly, how warm, was found to positively predict staying friends with an ex. This could be because maybe agreeable people have better conflict resolution, they have more warmth post-breakup, so they're able to stay friends with their ex. It makes sense that if you're more agreeable, you would be more likely to stay friends with your ex than someone who is disagreeable, kind of high conflict, not as pleasant to be around. So let's go into a really interesting part of the study, the 4 reasons they found for why people stay friends with their ex. The first reason is security. So security refers to not wanting to lose the friendship. Women were more likely to stay friends with their ex because of this reason. Same with LGBTQ individuals, same with more extroverted individuals. The less open to new experiences, another trait of the big 5, the less open people were, the more they were likely to also agree they stayed friends with their ex because of security. The less avoidantly attached, the more likely they were to agree with this reason as well. And the more anxious attached they were, the more likely they were to agree with this reason. So I'm going to do something kind of unorthodox. I'm going to create a prototype for the type of person who might stay friends with an ex. And this does not mean that someone who fits this prototype is necessarily like this. What I'm doing is not scientific. It's just for fun to get you to visualize what types of qualities someone who stays friends with their ex for this particular reason might have. So I was going to draw a picture of each of these 4 prototypes. I haven't had a chance, but in the case that I do later, I will try to include it here. The prototype for security, someone who wants to stay friends because they don't want to lose the friendship, is, let's say, an LGBT woman, let's say a lesbian woman who's extroverted, anxiously attached, so she's anxious about losing people, and she stayed friends with her ex because she didn't want to lose a friend. So this is her, this is Casey. The second reason people listed for why they stay friends with their ex was out of practical reasons. So either due to their social network or financial ties, or working together, or they shared possessions or kids, they felt it practically made more sense to stay friends with this person than to not. So heterosexuals were more likely to stay friends with their ex because of this reason rather than LGBTQ individuals. Men also endorsed this reason more. People who were less open to new experiences, more conscientious, more avoidantly or anxiously attached, so people who are overall more insecure in their attachment. Also, it was more likely if the breakup was done for sexual reasons. It was more likely if not much time had elapsed since the breakup, so it was relatively fresh. And it was more likely if the couple broke up also over affiliation issues, so things like boredom or lack of time together. So the prototype here is a straight man who's very conscientious. Let's say he was a hard worker at school, he's perfectionistic, he's insecurely attached in one way or the other. He broke up with his girlfriend because of incompatibility or boredom with each other, and the breakup is still pretty fresh. And he decided to stay friends with his ex because of practical reasons, because they share a friend group and end up in the same circles. So here is him, he's Dave. Then the third reason people stayed friends with their exes was civility. So this is almost like a sense of not wanting things to end badly, just wanting to be on good terms with people, wanting to avoid confrontation, or to not hurt someone's feelings. Those with a more anxious attachment style were more likely to stay friends with their ex because of this reason. Also younger people, also men, also people who are higher on avoidance or anxiety. So again, insecure attachment style. People who had had a shorter time since the breakup, like with the last reason. So the prototype here is a young man, let's say 20 years old, with anxious attachment style, so he's afraid of losing people, who has just had a recent breakup, and he wants to stay friends so that they remain on good terms. So this is him, his name's Matthew. And lastly, unresolved romantic desires. This one's pretty self-explanatory, not wanting to lose the person's attention or still having feelings for them, wanting to get back together, still being attracted to them. This is the reason you're probably most scared of your partner being friends with their ex for. So it's truer for people with anxious attachment styles, it's truer for men. It's less likely to be true if the couple broke up over affiliation issues, things like boredom or lack of time together. So the prototype here is a man with anxious attachment style, so similarly to Matthew, he's afraid of losing people, whose breakup happened because things just kind of sizzled out. And he stayed friends with his ex because he still has feelings for her. This is him, his name's Carlos. So in summary of the 4 reasons why people stay friends with their ex: sex, sexual orientation, attachment styles, personality traits, time since the breakup, and reasons for the breakup all predicted whether someone was going to stay friends or not. Now let's go into the outcomes of staying friends with your ex. So should you be friends with your ex? Is it going to work out based on some demographic variables, but also based on the reason you want to stay friends with them in the first place? Staying friends with your ex due to unresolved romantic desires, as you can imagine, resulted in the most negative outcomes. It's fairly obvious. You can't stay friends with someone who you still have feelings for. It's disaster waiting to happen. You're going to be jealous, or there's going to be rejection or drama with a new partner. And if you suspect this is either you or your partner, err on the side of caution. Now, staying friends due to security and practical reasons resulted in more positive outcomes. So if you're considering staying friends with someone because you don't want to lose the friendship, or because it makes practical sense, like let's say you run in the same social circles, you have kids together, you have aspects of your life that you still need to share, it has the highest chances of working out. And it doesn't mean that it will work out. It doesn't mean that your next partner will be okay with it. Just that it has the highest chance of working out of all of the 4 reasons I listed. Now, staying friends due to practical or civility reasons resulted in the friendship being less likely to last in the long term. So what if your partner is friends with their ex? At what point should you be concerned? It seems to me it makes more sense to rephrase the question as, how do you know if they still have romantic or sexual feelings for their ex? So I couldn't find any empirical studies on this, as it would be really difficult to actually implement a study like this. It would have to be longitudinal, and there would be the possibility of inaccurate self-reported information and so on. So I'm going to use my own psychological and clinical knowledge to inform this next part. So signs that your partner is not over their ex. They always name drop them, or they're always talking about them. They tend to compare you to them a lot. They're weird about you meeting them or spending time with them, kind of like they're trying to keep their worlds separate. They're very defensive or upset when you ask about the breakup, so clearly this is not something that they're neutral about, not something that they've processed and are okay with, or, this is something distressing to them because they didn't want to lose that person. You get the sense that they're not trying to show you off either online or in person because they don't want their ex to see, or they're showing you off so much that it kind of feels like they're flexing you. You get the sense that they're talking to their ex about you for better or worse. They're kind of like a confidant to them. They ask for guidance. There's the potential for the ex, influencing their perception of you. They're constantly texting or hanging out. Of course, it makes sense to hang out and text your friends, but if it's a little bit more than what you do with your other friends, that is cause for concern. When you ask about this, they get defensive about it. So would you get defensive if your partner asked you why you spend so much time with a particular random platonic friend? I know I wouldn't. So for someone to get defensive over a partner asking, hey, how come you're so close with this person, is not really a good sign. And the most important one to me, they don't seem to be giving you the attention or the affection that you deserve. They leave you wondering. They leave you watching this video because you don't feel fully secure in your relationship. So I think you can stay friends with someone with no feelings for them if, first of all, enough time has passed and or something occurred to completely rupture your attraction to them. Like, for example, I was at an event with someone that I was seeing, and something negative happened at that event that really upset me. And even though what happened wasn't his fault, I still associated him with the negative thing that happened. And I actually grew quite disgusted with him for a long time. And it was actually out of that disgust that our attraction ruptured and we were able to stay platonic friends because my feelings for him were so far detached. Similarly, I know someone who stayed cordial with their ex for so long, like so much time had passed since their relationship and the breakup, that the ex was even invited to the wedding. So enough time can pass that the romantic connection is completely severed. So those are my 2 cents on it. Hope this was helpful for you. I want to hear what stories you have on this topic, so put them in the comments below. And don't forget to hit like and subscribe, and I'll see you soon.